In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the valve cover gasket on your Subaru Outback. This will be located on the side of the motor. Let's get started. Using a 10mm wrench, loosen the two terminals for the battery. Remove the terminals. Using a 10mm socket, loosen the plastic stay. Pull the cables off to the side. Using a 10mm socket, remove the two nuts for the battery tie down. The rods are sitting in the bottom. Remove the hooks. Remove the battery. Using a pair of pliers, we're going to squeeze the clamp, pull it back on the hose, pull the hose off of the valve cover. Using a 12mm socket, we're going to remove the two bolts for the intake / injector cover. There's two more 12mm bolts in the middle of our injector cover. I'm going to go straight down. On the injector cover, there's going to be a plastic stay. We're going to squeeze the two tabs on bottom and then pull it up through the top. Pop the plastic stay out. Using a 10mm wrench, we're going to remove the two bolts for the oil tube. Remove the bolts and the oil tube. We're going to put a plug where our oil tube was. You can use anything you have just to not let anything fall into this hole. Remove the connectors for the coil packs. Lift the tab up, pull the connector back. Do the same thing on the back one. We're going to remove the connector on the back of the valve cover. There's a little tab right here. We're going to push on that, pull out. We're going to pop the plastic stay off for the harness. Remove the 10mm bolts for the coil packs. Remove the bolts and the coils. Pull straight out. You'll need to orient this back one. You'll need to twist the coil for it to be able to get out. Remove the front one. Remove the injector cover. Lift up and then slide out. As you're doing this, you're going to need to work this bracket around the harnesses. Remove the cover. Remove the connector for the cam sensor. Push on the tab. Remove the connector. I'm going to pull that harness up and out of the way. Using a 10mm wrench, remove the bolt for the cam sensor. Fully remove the bolt. Leave the sensor. Pull it back to meet the valve cover. Loosen the bolt for the bracket. Remove the bolt. Remove the bracket and the sensor. Give it a little wiggle. Being held on by this alignment. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to remove the nut for the motor mount. Using a jack and a block of wood, we're going to get under the motor. We're going to go up on the exhaust pipe, right on the side of it, right on the strongest point. We're going to lift our motor. We only want to go up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go around the valve cover and remove all 6 bolts. We have 3 more valve cover bolts on the bottom. You do not need to get these from the bottom of the car. You can get them from the top. Use a flat blade screwdriver and get between the valve cover and the head. We're going to slowly open this up, making sure not to pry on any mating surfaces. They put little ears around the sides of these motors, so you're able to pry on it without hitting the mating surface. Pop the valve cover off. We're going to go up with this. You're going to need to move some harnesses and work it out of the space until you can remove the valve cover. If the gasket did not come with the valve cover, go ahead and remove that now. If you have a bunch of dirt that's sitting on top of this gasket, try blowing it out. Or you can use a rag and follow around as you pull this gasket off to minimize the dust or dirt that gets into the engine. Remove the gasket. Using a shop rag, we're going to cover the rocker assembly. We want to feed this under the lip. Go all the way down the valve cover with it. Using a razor blade, we're going to go around and clean the mating surface. We don't want to take off any material, we just want to get rid of any corrosion, dirt, or built up gasket material. As you do this, you want to scrape away as to not push any dirt into the motor. If a little bit gets in there, that's why we have the rag to catch it. Using a clean rag and some parts cleaner, we're going to spray our rag. We're going to go around the outside of the valve cover, just wiping down that mating surface, getting any old oil or dust off. Using a shop rag and some parts cleaner, we're going to go around and clean this cover. We're just going to get the old oil out. This isn't something you have to do, but if it's off, you might as well. Go through and clean all in here. And the other thing we'll do, we'll take a screwdriver, wrap our rag in it, and then run this screwdriver down in the groove, getting any of the dust and oil out of the groove as well. You can spray some parts cleaner and then wipe it. Just go around the whole cover cleaning it. Remove the tube seals. If these have been on there for a long time, they can get stuck on. Use a pair of pliers. Peel it off to one side. Same thing on the back one. Remove the tube seals. Grab the new tube seals, and with a bit of clean engine oil, we're going to wipe the inside. Install the tube seal. Do the same thing on the back seal. Put a bit of clean engine oil on it. And install the seal onto the tube. Install the valve cover gasket into the valve cover. Install the valve cover. Double check that the gasket is still all in place. Go around and get the bolt started for the valve cover. Install the 3 bolts on the bottom of the valve cover. We're going to go around and snug down all of our bolts. We just want them touching the cover. Right there. Torque the valve cover bolts to 4.7 foot-pounds. Start in the middle. This will be bolt number 1. Bolt number 2 is on the bottom in the middle. Then we'll go on to this top right. That'll be bolt number 3. Coming down to the front left, this will be 4. And we'll go bottom right for 5. And finish off with that one at 6. Once we've gone around the valve cover and torqued all of our bolts to 4.7 foot-pounds, we're going to go back to our middle two and torque them to 4.7 foot-pounds again. Since it's a rubber gasket, it'll squeeze down. We had almost a quarter turn out of that one. Install the injector cover. Make sure your harnesses are routed the right way through the bracket. Install the bolts for the cover. I'm going to be using a magnet to help me get them started. One more in the back. Get the bolts started by hand. Be sure they're not cross-threading. Torque the intake bolts to 18.4 foot-pounds. Install the coil packs. Install the bolts. Torque the coil pack bolts to 4.7 foot-pounds. Install the connectors for the coils. Push until you hear a click. If you don't, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. Reach down and grab the connector, pull it up, install it. Push until you hear a click. If you don't hear a click, give it a pull, make sure it's locked on. Install this plastic stay into the valve cover. Install the PCV hose onto the valve cover. Install the cam sensor and the bracket. Get the bracket bolt started. Torque the bolt to 4.7 foot-pounds. Install the bolt for the cam sensor. Get it started by hand. Snug down the bolt. Should get torqued to 4.7 foot-pounds. There's no way to get a socket on this. Do the best you can with a wrench. Install the connector for the cam sensor. Push until you hear a click. If you don't, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. I'm going to remove the plug we have in the top of our valve cover. Install the oil fill pipe. Be sure it's sitting square, fully seated. Get the bolt started. Snug the bolts down. Torque the bolts to 4.7 foot-pounds. Install the plastic stay into the injector cover. Remove the jack from the engine. Install the nut for the motor mount. Get it started by hand. Torque the mount nut to 33 foot-pounds. Install the battery. Install the tie down. Snug it down. Install the battery terminals. Push the plastic stay onto the pole. Snug down the terminals. And you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.